Welcome back to the channel. My name is Traven, and in today's video, we're going to seed the bracket for the 2024 manga tournament. This idea came about, as most of my ideas do, from other videos I've watched on YouTube. I believe it was Gavin that had a video in which he read several manga series, and then went through and talked about, this one versus this one, which one's better, which one's moving on in this bracket. And I thought it was a really cool concept. My biggest complaint or gripe with it is that he only read the first volume of a bunch of these series and then worked his way through to like the number one thing that he was going to take a look at. And while that's interesting, it was basically just like watching someone slowly rank a number of books that they have read. And so what I thought I would do is create a bracket of manga series, new manga series to me. Every time a title advances, I read the next volume of that comic. As the manga progressed through the brackets, I've read more and more of the series. I have a more complete picture of what's going on, more understanding of how the world is going to develop and how the characters are going to develop. I thought that would be a little bit more compelling. Advancing to the next round in this tournament means that I read more of the series. I have more of a picture of how things are going to develop. So I've got my 16 titles that we're going to take a look at in just a moment. I've got my Akon 2016 shirt, and I've got a Ice Shield 21 cup with a number of popsicle sticks with all the titles in it. So we'll do an overview of the series that I'm looking at, start pulling from the mug to seed our bracket for this tournament. So first up, we've got Ghostly Things. So with a number of these, it's popularity or I've heard things about them before. Ghostly Things is one of the titles that I was just browsing, like newer releases, newer titles that were out, and this one kind of caught my eye. With its focus on yokai, demons, which has always been an interest of mine. The Promised Neverland. Now, my wife has watched the anime, I believe, and really enjoyed season 1. So she highly recommends season 1. And she has not told me, she's told me a little bit about the premise of this story and a bit about like what's going on, but hasn't spoiled the like major twists that she thought were so effective and so compelling about this story. Fire Force is the next title, and this one I picked up purely because of its popularity, how many volumes have been released. It seems like this is coming out very quickly. A few of my students talk about this one, not as much as some of the other titles here, but it was one that is mostly here because I've heard about it from others. It seems like it's gained some notoriety, some popularity. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. I did want to have a few isekai titles in the bracket because it's such a popular genre at the moment, and I don't think I've read any straight up isekai titles. Definitely been exposed to some titles that could be considered isekai. I've never picked up one of these titles with the intentionally long name and the ridiculous premise, and I feel like That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is one of the earlier ones, and one of the ones that maybe started up this trend, at least here in stateside. And so I wanted to take a look at it. Jujutsu Kaisen, this is another one that is immensely popular. My students talk about this one. My friends have talked about this one. And it seems like that typical shonen style story. So we'll see how it goes. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? From the description, this seems kind of like a harem anime, possibly. It's not really my thing, but again, this is one that was getting a lot of buzz when it was first coming out. It seems like in this vein, in this subgenre, one of the ones that was gaining a little bit more notoriety, a little more popularity, and so I wanted to take a look at it and have at least one representation of a story like that within the collection. Demon Slayer. Now this one is a little bit of cheating maybe on my part. I did watch the first maybe 2 episodes of the anime, so I have a general sense of the overall premise. But there's so much of this content out there, and it's such a high profile manga series and anime series at the moment that I really felt like I should give another try. Blood on the Tracks. Now, I do know a little bit about this one as well, but so much of this is like, a shocking truth is revealed, something shocking happens, something terrible occurs to this family, or some truth is revealed, and I feel like even if you read the descriptions on the book, it does a good job of not giving away specifics about what's happening. I know that this has to do with a son and mother and their relationship, the twisted relationship between the two of them. It's another one that's been getting a lot of buzz, but from more of the booktube community and less like just like students and friends talking about it. Sounds like it might be a really interesting thriller or like a family melodrama type of thing. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. Goblin Slayer, and again, this one is mostly going to be about. Again, this one was mostly chosen for popularity reasons. It's another one of those titles that I see everywhere within the anime and manga community. I think the character design looks really cool. The armor design kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe Berserk in that kind of in its aesthetic. Mob Psycho 100. I believe this is the same author as One Punch Man, which I have read a little bit of. One of my friends talks about this one quite often as something that they found was really fun and amusing, and certainly if it has that same vibe as One Punch Man, I can definitely see where he's coming from. I believe it's pronounced Witch Hat Atelier, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is a fantasy series that my wife has started picking up. She's read through, I think, at least volume 1, if not further. And it just seemed like um, a good one for that fantasy subgenre. Um, I like the art that I've seen so far. I like the covers of the uh, comic, and so I was intrigued to take a look at this and see what it's about. Wotakoi, which again might be a little bit of a cheat because I feel like we watched a good bit of the anime. I don't remember a whole lot about the anime. I remember watching it. There was some sort of marathon streaming somewhere at one point, and this was part of it. So, like, we watched Yuri on Ice, we watched Wotakoi. I can't remember much about it other than it being very cute. And I wanted to have something that was focusing on relationships and being positive. I was trying to make sure that we had a good mixture of titles. Beastars. This one is another one that I'm getting from just like word of mouth and hype, and knowing that this is kind of a popular title in certain channels. More so from some YouTubers that I follow that aren't even booktubers. So it was a title that I wanted to pick up and take a look at and just see what the hype was about. Chainsaw Man, which is probably the most like quintessential shonen title next to Jujutsu Kaisen that I picked up. I've heard a lot of hype about this from uh, friends, from YouTube channels, again, even outside of the booktube community. This seems like it's gotten a lot of notoriety and hype and interest. It certainly looks very cool. I had a student have based their final project in class around this title as well, learning a little bit about the title through their analysis of the characters within this comic. If I had to rank like my hype or my interest in these titles, is probably fairly high. Hell's Paradise. This is another one that I picked up just kind of like on a whim. It looked. I love the cover. I read a bit about the premise. It kind of gave me a little bit of Blade of the Immortal vibes. And again, this is one that seems like it's gaining popularity, gaining notoriety right now. Black Clover is another one that's a little bit of a cheat. I know I've watched a few episodes of the anime. I know the general premise of the story, but it was one that it's such a long form fantasy series that I felt like just having watched like 2 episodes was not enough of a detriment to including it within this tournament. And I don't remember much about it other than the very basic ideas within the story. That is the various titles that we will be taking a look at. And so now we will seed the bracket by pulling out our popsicle sticks 2 at a time. I'll create a little graphic for this so that we can keep track of what's going up against what and what is advancing as we move through this. So our first title is going to be Blood on the Tracks, and that's going to go up against Demon Slayer. Okay. Next up, we have The Promised Neverland. Promised Neverland. And that will go up against Ghostly Things. Third bracket will be Fire Force versus Witch Hat Atelier. We have Black Clover, and Black Clover will be going up against Wotakoi. All right. Halfway there. Hell's Paradise. Whoop. We'll take it. We'll count that. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Next up, we have Beastars. And Beastars will go against Goblin Slayer. There's 2 more brackets to fill. Mob Psycho 100 is going to go up against That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. And that makes our final bracket Jujutsu Kaisen versus Chainsaw Man. Oh man. All right, one of these big shonen titles is going to get eliminated pretty quickly. I'm going to have to make a decision. So again, I'll come up with a bracket graphic to show and use as we move through this. but that is our tournament seeded. I'm going to go ahead and start up with reading these titles right away so that we can get into this tournament and start posting my thoughts and feelings and talking about what's moving on in the different brackets. So look forward to some videos. My plan at the moment is just to do a video for each bracket. So we'll have Blood on the Tracks versus Demon Slayer soon, and we'll move on from there. I'll try to give my thoughts on those first volumes, talk about what's moving on, and why, and then we'll move through the various brackets until we get to the end, and then we'll start looking at those volume 2s. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you have your own recommendations for anime or manga that I should check out, drop those in the comments below. Help us grow this corner of our booktube community. I hope your reading journey is going well, and until the next one, take care.